there was a gap that was felt, that women's movement and women's rights activists were not able to clearly communicate and have a good global political dialogue with the global leaders and member states of the UN. And that's where the thought of establishing a commission on status of women was brought out, primarily by the advocacy that the influential women's organizations had done at that time. So the Commission on Status of Women really then was mandated to make recommendations and take a stock of what's happening on the gender equality front, where are some of the achievements, but also more importantly, where are some of the gaps. And when CSW was started, I think it gave a kind of a platform, or even more importantly, a space for women's rights activists and gender equality advocates to formally be recognized in UN platforms. So I think for me that was one of the biggest milestone. But again, moving forward, some of the other milestones that came were with the wave of the 1990s. You see a lot of you see the 4 world conferences on women, and I think for us, Mexico and Beijing charted out one of the most powerful vision and action agenda on the empowerment of women in different spheres of their life. One saw with Beijing especially the recognition for institutional strengthening, and also the reforms within the UN and outside, how you're dealing with some of the global leaders on advancing your feminist agenda in a much more structural and political manner possible. I think what the 1990s and some of those movements did for us was, within UN, it gave a big perspective of, how can you mainstream gender within how the UN functions. And as a result of that continued advocacy by the women's movement, we had UNIFEM at that time, which was only, I think, about 10 years ago. We are celebrating, as UN Women, we are celebrating our 10th year anniversary this year. And 10 years ago, the biggest reform within the UN that happened was to create UNIFEM, which is now also known as UN Women. That came from the feminist movement. The other thing that came for us, and which is why we are talking today, is the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. And we are celebrating the 25 years since the adoption of the declaration and platform. We've seen over the last 25 years what have been some of the achievements and the continued challenges that keep coming to us over years and decades. So for us, I think the process has been taking stock, and where the government is responsible to take a stock and give out reports in terms of what they've done so far. This year's India report is also online. It talks about what it has done in terms of our legislation movement, what it has done in terms of also looking at education, looking at conflict, looking at health. So the different 12 critical areas that Beijing Declaration brought out. We also had a very, very comprehensive consultative process for a civil society report to come out, which was a perspective to look at the ground realities, to look at what the civil society thinks we've achieved 25 years down the line. And therefore, we as UN Women had supported the process of doing 5 regional consultations on Beijing 25 with different women's groups, their organizations and collectives in 5 different regions of India. And we'd come out with an alternative report, which does talk about a lot of gains that one has made over the last 5 years in particular, but over the 25-year span. But it also talks about some of the challenges that continue to exist since the 25 years, challenges that are coming up. And of course, with COVID, the priorities are shifting, our realities are shifting. What could be some of the steps forward in terms of recommendation for the government to actually take cognizance of? So that is what was done through our consultative process, which we took to our regional meeting in the Asia Pacific region. The Asia Pacific region is managed by both UN Women's Office in Bangkok and also the SCAP office for Asia Pacific. That's where, what we had done was something incredible for me. There was, in some of these intergovernmental meetings, what happens is you only have a very limited room for civil society advocates.
प्लीज अपना माइक एंड कैमरा ऑफ कर दीजिए, सानिया जी को बोलने दीजिए, हमें सुनने दीजिए। आप लोग अपना प्लीज माइक ऑफ कर दीजिए।
ओके मैम।
प्राची, आप वहां से ही ऑफ कर सकते हो हर एक का माइक, जिसका भी माइक ऑन है आप ऑफ कर दो।
Yes, Sanya, please.
Sorry, I also got muted. Yeah, so I think जब ये intergovernmental meetings होती हैं, there's very limited space for the civil society advocates to actually put a foot in the door and communicate their messages. Usually what happens is you have corridor lobbying and negotiations, but a real space to strategize and put a common narrative to be negotiated is very, very less. What we saw in this process 25 years later was that we had a 3-day civil society organizations forum where women's organizations and their collectives were able to assess and strategize the priorities that were coming out of the region, form a collective narrative, which was then pushed for negotiations under the framework of Beijing 25. And we had very beautifully articulated our CSO narrative, which was in anger, in hope, and in action. The other thing that we were able to do was to have a separate young persons forum, which brought out a young person's charter of demand, which brought out a perspective from young gender advocates. What is it that lies as a perspective for us? What is the kind of future that we would want to see 10 years, 15 years down the line? What are the linkages with the sustainable development goals that we are trying to achieve till 2030? And what are the gaps that we as young advocates still see in terms of achieving some of those targets that we've set for ourselves? So I think for me, that process was very, very inspiring. That process was very, very comprehensive in terms of looking at what do the senior gender advocates who were a part of Beijing, what do they think about 25 years down the line, but also factoring in what the young people want to make a world out of. So I think it was a very, very good mix. We were again able to negotiate to have the government, the UN, and the civil society sit in one room, influence the dialogues and the negotiations that were happening, and get what we had wanted to achieve ultimately out of that Beijing process. From the Beijing 25 process, we wanted to graduate through Generation Equality campaign. We've heard different messages from Generation Equality, and I'm sure that the other speakers will also talk in detail about Generation Equality. But let me just highlight two critical thought processes of giving birth to an idea like Generation Equality campaign, which is to say that, it is important, and we've already taken a stock of what has happened in 25 years since Beijing declaration. But while we are doing this, our priorities have changed. There are certain things that we probably did not envision to have happened at that time. And for us, the biggest demonstration of that is the COVID changing realities. So really looking at what we were not able to include in the Beijing Declaration at that time, but holds very, very important in today's time. And also, how do we now graduate from getting young people to understand that feminist movement, to understand the history of different milestones that one was able to achieve, and pass the baton, take the responsibility of extending that movement in newer forms and shape possible. So really getting the young advocates into the picture, making them understand what has been the history of women's movement so far, and how they would want to now reshape the feminist agenda and take that at the global level, but also at the national level with our own member states and our own governments. So I think that is where we are trying to look at a shift in the feminist discourse, a shift in the feminist agenda setting. A shift is also how we do public and policy advocacy. And that kind of shift is being envisioned through the Generation Equality campaign. I'm happy to talk more in detail about what the Generation Equality forums look like, how are we trying to look at bringing the global to local, and what are some of the things that we would want to do in India under the whole Generation Equality process. But I'll leave it for other speakers to talk first, and then maybe take an opportunity to explain this better. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanya. Very well explained. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now we have Priyanka Sami with us, who's at National Federation on Dalit Women. She'll brief about the topic.
Yeah, thanks, Prachi, and I would really like to thank Neelamji and Sakhi Kendra for inviting me this afternoon. I'm very excited to see many of the older feminists who sort of really laid and paved the path for everything that we want to sort of take on from them. So thanks for having me, and Sabhi ko salam or Zindabad. So I've been asked to speak on generation equality. I mean, Sanya has beautifully sort of set the context, and I would sort of take on from there. I think the most important thing, and at the outset, I would like to say that the Beijing Declaration and the Beijing Platform for Action was an outcome of years of struggle, activism, and advocacy by the global feminist movement, right? So it was truly path-breaking, and I think it was a watershed moment in history where women's rights were placed at the heart of the human rights agenda. I think it successfully sort of mobilized political commitment to advance the rights of women globally. And I think the one thing that's sort of etched in our memories is from the conference is that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights. So, in a sense, the Beijing Platform for Action gave the women's movement the sort of legitimacy to fight for its rights with its respective governments and, in all institutions. It sort of laid the blueprint for gender mainstreaming in public policies and governments. And I think, I haven't seen a more progressive document than the Beijing Platform for Action, really. And I think the other thing that it really did was, if you see the global feminist movement or the feminist movement in India, it really has drawn its strength from the Beijing Platform for Action and, of course, CEDAW, along with other international human rights treaties. And in some sense, this year, I mean, obviously, COVID-19 notwithstanding, this year is significant as it marks several historical milestones, whether it's 25 years of Beijing, 40 years of CEDAW, even 20 years of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 that focuses on women, peace, and security. And of course, it's 5 years of the Sustainable Development Goals and 2030 agenda. So really, we're in a very historic moment. 2020 would be remembered. But however, I would like to say that, despite the Beijing Platform for Action having envisioned gender equality in all its dimensions of life, for girls and women, with 25 years of struggle and resistance, we see that nothing substantial has actually changed for poor women, particularly from marginalized communities of the global south. Women continue to face multiple and intersecting forms of marginalization, resulting in acute socio-political inequalities. Like if we look at the COVID-19 crisis, it has really highlighted the long-term neglect on women. I mean, if we look at figures, domestic violence complaints during this period are at its highest in the last 10 years. And if we see how women constitute about more than 85% of the national health workers, but they're still at the bottom of the health sector hierarchy, and there are no special measures taken for women. So if we look at it, women's labor and contributions really continue to be invisible during the pandemic. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, there's some disturbance. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, and if we see during this time, during COVID, marginalized women are further distanced, discriminated, and distressed during the pandemic with no access to basic rights and services. So, therefore, the moment is right, in 2020 to really revisit and reiterate universal commitments to all women and girls. I think the whole aim of the Gender Equality Forum is to build a stronger feminist action agenda that sort of center stages gender perspectives and women's rights, through these action coalitions that Sanya just spoke about. And I think embedding women's voices at the heart is at the heart of this campaign. And, there are about 3 objectives that I would like to read out. One is to recognize, mobilize, and expand youth leadership for generation equality, provide a platform for civil society and women's rights movements to look at progress, gaps, and voice their demands. And the third is to drive coordinated global action and develop a measurable plan of action so that the goals, so that we set the goals and also sort of accelerated through these action coalitions. And last November, like Sanya just mentioned, I had the opportunity to participate in the Young Feminist Forum, which was a 2-day event in Bangkok. It sort of preceded the Asia Pacific review of the Beijing Plus 25 Seattle Forum and the Intergovernmental Forum on Beijing Plus 25. So we were about 75 young women from the Asia Pacific region, and we had conversations around the 12 critical areas of the Beijing platform for action that Sanya just highlighted. So we discussed, what does generation equality mean to us? And, the sort of conclusions that drawn were that it's time for us to be more critical and open about what it means to claim a space, especially for historically marginalized groups, even within the feminist movement, such as people from different sexual orientation, disability groups, women from marginalized communities, especially in the global south. So maybe, one of the things that sort of came out from the meeting was maybe it means that claiming a space means, giving ourselves the permission to show up in a space that we were historically excluded from. Maybe it means raising your hand, asking a question. Maybe it means just walking, sort of away from a space that doesn't value you. Maybe it means showing up in a way that honors your journey without feeling guilty, that it doesn't look like anyone else's. So, we decided that we really need a seat at the table from the very beginning, rather than only when the agenda is sort of typed out and printed. There's this famous African saying, and I say this everywhere we go. The saying goes that if you're not on the table, then you're on the menu. And we certainly are sick and tired as women and feminists of being on the menu. So we're really demanding systems change. We're really demanding a seat at the table. So we sort of reflected on our lived realities. We consolidated what we thought were priorities and sort of set the agenda for future action and advocacy. So I think the Generation Equality Campaign in many ways sort of disrupts and subverts the preconceived notions about young people's inability to lead and engage in feminist discourse in the movement. We're sort of saying now that, we need, I mean, of course, the older feminists need to help us and build our capacities, but we also bring our own perspectives, and that's very important going forward. So, and because of this sort of generation equality campaign and the push from the UN agencies, especially UN Women, young people are equally encouraged and given the platform to lead and claim spaces. So I think globally and at the national level, this is the first time where commendable efforts are being made to bridge the intergenerational gap by involving younger feminists to actively take part in consultations, in events, in review processes to ensure that young voices are heard in all our diversity and varied abilities. So I think I would like to highlight two key points in this context. I think since 1995, the discourse on gender has evolved to define gender as a spectrum that includes male, female, sexual minorities, especially the LGBTQI community and others. I mean, historically, the understanding on gender has been limited to the gender binaries, that is, men and women. But now the discourse has broadened, and of course, rightfully so. So we need to unpack what gender identities and abilities when it interacts with, other social constructs such as patriarchy, caste, and now race with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Race is a very important conversation that's going on. Ethnicity, socioeconomic status, even citizenship is very important, and how these, when interacted with our gender identities, shape experiences and outcomes. Therefore, the one point that is absolutely pivotal is how do we break out of the binary framework and be more inclusive and intersectional in our approaches. So, and the other thing that I would like to say is that no matter what we do from here on, no matter what sort of strategies we're developing, it is absolutely imperative to sort of adopt the intersectional approach. Women, I mean, we know from our lived realities that we're not a homogeneous, right? Just amongst all of us here, none of us are the same. Our lived realities are very different. I'm a young Dalit woman. My realities are very different from, example, Prachi's or Sanya's. So, we're really not a homogeneous group. So how are we sort of going to build a common narrative that is impactful and is meaningful for all of us? So, and if you see now, because of COVID, you see how women are, the marginalized women are disproportionately affected by these crises, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's the economy or whether it's climate change. Each of us are impacted very differently from it. So, and the classic case is, of course, of Dalit women, Muslim women, who are absolutely at the bottom of the religion, caste, gender and class hierarchies. So how are we also going to sort of integrate and mainstream their voices in the feminist movement going forward? So, and since we've all our countries have signed the 2030 agenda, governments are committed to leave no one behind. But this commitment also needs to be sort of translated into actionable points. And for that to happen, it is absolutely critical to prioritize gender responsive planning and implementation through the lens of intersectionality, because that's the only way we address the structural gaps and sort of pay the path to achieving substantial equality. So I think if you ask me for a strategy, I would say, and I'm almost finishing up, just bear with me for 2 more minutes. I would say our solution is to the crisis lies in unity and solidarity across communities. I think as young feminists, we definitely need to deepen our intersectional analysis, create positive narratives, learn from each other's lived realities, and find innovative ways to organize ourselves. I mean, we've seen in these last 25 years that the older feminists have done everything they could, and how are we going to sort of take on the baton and be more impactful and more meaningful than they ever were? So I think the most important thing is to sort of redesign how decision-making tables look. So we're looking for diverse and intergenerational co-leadership. Only that can sort of bring about transformational changes in the movement, in the gender equality movement. And we young feminists should drive the gender equality campaign. And the second, I think, is to be strategic, is to be thoughtful and collaborative. We need to forge strategic partnerships, strengthen feminist movements, especially at the grassroots. We really need to go from the grassroots to the global. So, in conclusion, I would say that, you know, women's rights is always, has always, and will always be about power. Nobody is going to give us that power. We have the agency, but we don't have power. So we really need to create our own spaces where we mobilize and leverage on each other's strengths, and hopefully that will lead to transformation. So thank you. I'm happy to take questions, but maybe a little later. So
Yeah, Priyanka ji, we'll have question answer session in the end.
yeah, okay. Great.
Yeah, thank you. You were really good, and it was really lovely to listen to you.
And also just one Nara, because we can't be in a women's meeting and not do Naras. So, you know, this is from the Dalit movement. It says that Hum Dalit Nari hai, Fool nahi chingari hai. So, you know, I would say that again. Hum Dalit Nari hai,
Fool nahi chingari hai.
फूल नहीं चिंगारी है.
ठीक है. Thank you so much. Shukriya.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, I would like to say one thing, that people who are comfortable with Hindi, they can speak in Hindi. Okay, so moving forward, now we have Shiva George with us, and she is a founder of Sahar Varu Women's Action and Resource Unit, Ahmedabad. She will speak on the challenges during bringing generation equality in action. Please, Shiva ji, take the lead, please.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Prachi. It was wonderful listening to both Sanya and Priyanka. Sanya really has given the whole advocacy picture for the women's movement, the women's rights movement. She really showed how much the entire process of advocacy has become so sophisticated. मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोलूँगी, comfortable तो इंग्लिश में हूँ, पर मुझे लगता है शायद दूसरे लोग हैं जहाँ ज़्यादा हिंदी पसंद करेंगे. I can do a little bit of both languages because I know our friends from the south may not be able to manage Hindi. So, की है आज मेरे पहले मुझे लगता है ये इंटरजेनरेशनल इक्वालिटी की जो बात है वो कई हद तक वास्तविकता में बदल चुकी है. हमारे बीच आज लीड लेने में सानिया है, प्रियंका है, प्राची है. ये साफ जाहिर कर रहा है कि बैटन मूव हो चुका है. What I'm saying is the baton has already moved. Priyanka, Sanya, Prachi, and so many of the participants in today's webinar are young women. And what is wonderful to see is there's a lot of competency in these entire generation where they have obviously studied, they have spent time to study the history of what the women's rights movement has done domestically, nationally, and internationally. So first thing, what I liked is that Sanya has shown the steps of advocacy that has been done domestically and internationally. She has situated where today the entire push is to take the Beijing platform for action forward, while Priyanka has given flesh to all the issues by bringing out क्या मुद्दे हैं आज की तारीख में जो हमारे देश को, हमारी महिलाओं को परेशान कर रही है, इस पीढ़ी की महिलाओं को क्या परेशान कर रही है, वो भी बात प्रियंका ने बताने की कोशिश की है. मेरा काम ये है कि ये इंटरजेनरेशनल इक्वालिटी, ये यानी कि हर पीढ़ी के बीच में समानता, मौके देना, ये किस तरीके से हो रहा है या हो सकता है. एक तो मुझे कहना है कि बीजिंग की जो पूरी प्रक्रिया थी, 25 साल पहले की जो प्रक्रिया थी, वो बहुत एक ये एक अंतरराष्ट्रीय विश्व का चौथा महिला परिषद था। उस महिला परिषद में उसमें हम 25 साल छोटे थे। हमें लग रहा था कि हम जमीन पे काम करने वाले जो संगठन है, कार्यकर्ताएं हैं, उनको कहीं हमें आवाज निकालने का, we were not getting the opportunities to bring out our voices, our expressions and our perspectives. So हमारे जो ख्याल थे, हमारे जो अनुभव थे, उन्हें कहीं मुख्य धारा में, मेन स्ट्रीम में, जेंडर के जो मुद्दे पे काम करने वाले संगठन में उनको मौके नहीं मिल रहे थे। और हमें लगता था कि हमसे जो बड़े हैं, जो पहुंचे हुए माया है, उन लोग जो हैं, उनको कैसे समझाया जाए कि हमारी भी कुछ हटके आवाजें हैं, कुछ हटके सोच है जो सुनने की जरूरत है। There was a feeling among grassroots activists who were very much younger. All of us must have been 25 years younger, and there were younger people, even younger than us, who were really painstakingly making an effort to get ourselves heard, because we were bringing new issues. I remember that some of the critical issues that I tried to raise was communalism. कोमवाद और शहरी गरीबी की जो बात थी, तब 25 साल पहले ज्यादातर लोग ग्रामीण स्तर पे काम करते थे। शहरी गरीबों की बात करना भी मुनासिब नहीं था। उस माहौल में किस तरीके से हमने जकार्ता और अलग अलग इंटरमिनिस्टेरियल जो मीटिंग्स थे, उसके अंदर किस तरीके से बीजिंग प्लेटफॉर्म के अंदर अर्बन पॉवर्टी की बात लाने की कोशिश की, जहां अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पे कम्युनलिज्म को अलग कम्युनल माना जाता था। अंतरराष्ट्रीय भाषा में कम्युनल यानी कि साथ में रहना, और हमारे साउथ एशियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कोमवाद का अर्थ जो है संघर्ष था। So religious intolerance, religious conflicts, what was understood in the international scenario and how we South Asians understood was very different. So these were some of the struggles we faced as younger women. And we had a really hard time to get ourselves heard and get ourselves the platform and the spaces. And I think that time the instruments, the mechanisms, the systems that were in place was the interfacilitating for Beijing, and they put up a structure called the Coordination Unit for Beijing Conference. And these mechanisms tried to allow and create a platform for grassroots-based women from marginalized communities to speak up. तो वंचित जो समुदाय है, उन सबको मौका मिला था बीजिंग में। आज ये बीजिंग platform for action is such a vibrant document is because young women were there in that process, and because grassroots voices were heard, second, and third, because the marginalized could speak. So पहले जो था कि गरीबी तो गरीबी है, कट्टरवाद तो कट्टरवाद है, बहुत जनरल टर्म्स में इन मुद्दों को समझे जाते थे। पर जब हमारे जैसे लोगों को मौका दिया गया, so we brought in the whole nuances to these issues. There is a thing like majority communalism and minority communalism. There's a thing like majority fundamentalism and minority fundamentalism. That urban poverty is going to become a growing phenomenon. Ghettoization is going to become a critical issue. Segregation, inclusion, ये सारे शब्द जो आए, conflicts, किस तरीके से तकरार जो है इतना बड़ा मुद्दा बनने वाला है और बन चुका था। एंड वायलेंट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स की जो बात थी, जो महिलाएं डेजर्ट्स में रहती है, जो पहाड़ों में रहती है, ये सब मुद्दों को ये क्योंकि एक राष्ट्र स्तर पे ना ही इंडिया पर पूरे साउथ एशिया और पूरे वर्ल्ड में कोशिश की गई थी कि अनसुनी आवाजों को आवाज दे सके। So it was called Let a Thousand Flowers Bloom. पूरी कोशिश ये थी कि चंद लोगों के हाथों में सत्ता न रहे और आवाज न रहे, पर ये जो है इसका व्याप बढ़ाया जाए। So the shift from a select few to a mass level of leadership was something that was one of the most dynamic gains of the Beijing World Conference on Women. I wanted to add this to already things that Priyanka and Sanya have mentioned, Because as now we are in that older feminist wala position. So I feel that some things that was not there and we managed to push in, paved the way for you people. It paved the way for, because the struggle for Dalit rights, rights of religious minorities, all of this was not going to, that time we didn't realize that even in 25 years, we would not see the impact and the result of what we had envisaged the Beijing Platform for Action. We had broken the select and created a mass of women's leadership globally. We had insisted on political participation of women. So look at the gains and achievement that the Beijing Platform for Action got translated in through its document. Immediately after the Beijing Platform for Action came into existence, what happened was that most of these actions, we tried to move from words to action. हमारे जैसे लोग, हमारे जैसे साधारण महिलाएं, आपके और हमारे जैसे को जमीन पे काम कर रहे थे, वो सब अपने अपने देशों में वापस गए और पूरी कोशिश की कि ये जो हमारे पास जैसे एक बाइबल है ना, एक भगवत गीता जैसा था ये बीजिंग प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर एक्शन, ये लेके हम वापस आए और हमको पूरा अटल विश्वास था कि ये जो हमने डॉक्यूमेंट दस्तावेज तैयार किया है वो हम सरकारों के साथ लग के मेहनत करके कोशिश करके वास्तविकता में बदल पाएंगे। पहले 10 साल के माहौल तो था भी ऐसा कि जहां हमारी कोशिशों को कुछ हमको रिजल्ट हासिल मिले जो अच्छे थे। सरकारें हमारी बात सुनती थी। हमने मांगा था कि जीडीपी को आप एजुकेशन में 6% कर दे, हेल्थ में आपको ये करना है, तकरार घटाने के लिए कैसे आप अलग अलग समुदायों को जोड़ने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ करे। ये सारी बातें एक पूरा डेकेड को क्या कहते हैं, दशा, डेकेड, फर्स्ट 10 years हमें दिखने लगा था कि हमारा जो दस्तावेज है सिर्फ एक किताब या दस्तावेज नहीं है, पर वो हकीकत में बदलने की संभावनाएं थी और हो रही थी। We were able to translate those words, those promises into action. But then when then post 90s, I mean 95 is the Beijing conference, and after that in another 10 years we could see the watering down of all the commitments that the government was making. Now therefore I think at this point, thematically, semantically, theoretically, we understand equality. We understand marginalization, we understand exclusion, we talk about it. But I think there is a need today to again decode what is equality. Today's generation has to speak of violent conflicts again, because these violent conflicts are dividing us as women. हम में से ज्यादातर हम सोचते हैं कि हम सब एक हैं, हमारे विविधता में भी हम सोचते हैं हम एक हैं, पर हम बिल्कुल एक नहीं हैं। आज हमारी डेमोक्रेसी खतरे में है। बहुत सारे हमारे जो मानव अधिकार हैं वो हमसे छीने गए हैं और बहुत ही सटल तरीके से छीने गए हैं। वॉइस ऑफ डिसेंट छीना गया है। मैं एक छोटी सी बात जाहिर करना, आज जो यंग विमेन जिसको बॉलीवुड में ड्रग्स ले रहे हैं करके,
कौन क्या बोला था?
Yes, yes, please. Sorry for the disturbance.
Yeah, it's all right. What I was saying is that there are so many signals, prominent signals, that today's young people are in danger. Today, look at that simple thing, what turned out to be, I mean, something that I should not even be needing to talk to about here. Sushant Singh's suicide went on to Rhea, and today, there is this witch hunt that's going on. There is this entire way that only women are being called in by the Narcotic Bureau, questioning on drugs. The way Me Too campaigns are being challenged. What is it showing? Today, the fact is, are we taking young Indian women back into the 18th century? For women like us who are in our 60s, we think we've lived our life, we've struggled, we have another 20 years to go, we will give our best. But the challenge is for young women today, because the thing is that there is a very strong effort to change the image of what women are. There is a very prominent way that women are being made to behave in a certain way. We are going back to the culture of what is the ideal woman, the mother, the sister, the daughter. These are the images that are being revived. So in the entire gamut of nationalism and revivalism, today's young women are facing serious threat of losing the gains that the women's movement struggled to achieve from the 18th century onwards. Child marriages को छोड़ के हम यहाँ तक पहुंचे हैं. जब 50 साल का आदमी 10 साल की बच्ची से शादी करता था, वो इस देश के नेता थे जो फ्रीडम, नाम नहीं ले रही हूँ, जो फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में भी शामिल थे. बातें करते थे वो कि विडो रीमैरिज होना चाहिए, चाइल्ड मैरिज को एबॉलिश करना चाहिए. बावजूद उनकी अपनी जिंदगी में देयर लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस वर वेरी डिफरेंट. तो वो माहौल से लेके आज तक, फर्स्ट इश्यू व्हिच आई थिंक in this entire discourse or the binary of older and younger feminist women's movement groups, whatever we call it, have to work together in our efforts to translate words into action as well as continue the advocacy process, is to redefine and decode and deconstruct equality. We have to understand the term of empowerment has changed. जहाँ टुडे एनजीओ, सिविल सोसाइटी ग्रुप्स के लिए ना कोई जगह है, ना कोई इज्जत है, वहाँ हम एम्पावरमेंट को कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? एक उज्ज्वला स्कीम को मानेंगे इस चीज को कि बचत मंडली को एम्पावरमेंट मानेंगे? म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट को हम किस तरीके से समझेंगे? एक दूसरे का सम्मान करना. LGBTQ 377 तो निकाल दिया है, पर उसके साथ साथ दूसरे बहुत सारे समुदायों को उन्होंने हैवान बना के रख दिया है. अकाउंटेबिलिटी को किस तरीके से समझेंगे? Today this generation has to really worry about how we are going to look at impunity. All the young women were the one who were part of supporting the anti-CAA movement in this country. It was young women who were there. But what is happening? There is incarceration of all those young women and men who have challenged. कुछ आवाज आ रही है क्या पीछे? So the thing is that today where young people's leadership is, which is saving the democracy, which is saving the Constitution of India, all these people are being incarcerated. तो जो इंसान ये देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए खड़ा है, वो जो राजनीतिक पहचान में लड़ाई लड़ रहा है, वो सारे भी आज कहीं ना कहीं हमारे सरकारों की नजर में गुनहगार बनते जा रहे हैं. These are some of the larger political issues that today's young generation is dealing with. कि हम जो हिमायत करेंगे तो किसके साथ करेंगे? वो सरकार के साथ, वो सरकारों के साथ जो दूसरे तरफ हमारी सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स को हमसे छीनने की कोशिश कर रही है, या हमें डिफाइन करके रखा है कि आप महिला हैं, आप इतना ही करो, आप इतना ही बोलो. ठीक है, बाहर से आप कपड़े पहन लो, लिपस्टिक पहन लो, घूमो, करो, पर आप जो डिफाइंड आपके रोल्स हैं उसी रोल्स में रह के सब काम करें. Another area that we have to enter is the whole thing of managing boundaries. Vis-a-vis dynamics, it's not been easy. This entire पहले वाली पीढ़ी ने भी हमको मौके दिए, ये पीढ़ी भी चाहते हैं, हर कोई चाहता है एक नई पीढ़ी खड़ी हो जाए. ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता है कि it is an anxiety of each generation कि there should be generation next who is in charge. And also without losing whatever our gains are of the previous generation's work. That's for socially, for us, people like us, we may not directly be concerned with science and technology. We may or may not be, But definitely we want our civil and political rights, our human rights, and all of these to be protected as well as enriched. So this intergenerational, so managing boundaries by which I mean is कि हर जनरेशन के साथ कुछ मूल्य भी बदलते हैं, सिद्धांतें भी बदलती हैं. वो एक संघर्ष का पॉइंट हो सकता है कि भाई मेरे टाइम में रिस्पेक्ट करना क्या, बड़ों का इज्जत करना क्या, और इस जनरेशन का समझ और उसका एक्सप्रेशन अलग हो सकता है. So to smoothen this entire transition, we have to understand that managing boundaries and intergenerational shift of values and principles is a critical systemic area that we need to keep in mind. Like I said, we cannot lose the larger picture. हमारे लिए larger picture is जो mainstream के लोग हैं, कहीं ना कहीं gender mainstreaming तो हुआ नहीं. आज जो power में बैठी हुई महिलाएं हैं, जब उनका अपना तलाक होता है तभी उनको ध्यान आता है कि भाई प्रोटेक्शन फॉर वुमेन फ्रॉम डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट कितनी कीमती चीज है, ये एक्ट से उसका भी सुरक्षा हो रहा है. इसलिए मुख्य धारा में महिलाओं की समानता, महिलाओं की अधिकार, ये बातें हम शिक्षण के द्वारा या हमारे रवैया के द्वारा या हमारे बर्तावों के द्वारा हम ला ही नहीं पाए हैं. मुझे लगता है ये जो जनरेशन है जहाँ प्रियंका, सानिया, प्राची, आप जैसे हजारों महिलाएं हैं, कहीं ना कहीं आप सामूहिक तरीके से अगर एक क्रिटिकल पावर नहीं बनेंगे तो फिर ये चीजें आप हासिल करके आगे ले जाने के लिए एक चुनौती बन के रह सकता है. So somehow you have to capture the whole thing so that you can negotiate with powers that are, so that you don't lose and you gain this. You know, even if it means changing the way, changing the language, changing the method in which we talk about religious minorities, Dalits and Adivasis. Because today, in the mainstream discourse, this has no place at all. Because those who were speaking, civil society actors who were speaking for these marginalized groups, have been so discredited that we have to worry about language. How are we going to talk about the poor? How are we going to talk about migrant laborers? How are we going to talk about Muslims, Adivasis, Dalits, महिलाएं? हर चीज के लिए ये जो जनरेशन है उसको सही में कुछ इनोवेटिव तरीके ढूंढने होंगे जब अंतरराष्ट्रीय जो हमारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स है वो सारे सबसे वीकेंड, जब हमारा प्रधानमंत्री कहता है कि यूएन सिस्टम्स बहुत वीक हो चुके हैं, ये क्या सिग्नल देता है समाज को कि अमेरिका की तरह हम में से किसी को यूनाइटेड नेशंस को मान देने की जरूरत नहीं है. So somehow when we are talking of working with an open mind, नए कल्चरों को कहीं ना कहीं पनपने देना, how are we going to expand and build new work cultures? How are us, the older generation, going to be able to listen to younger people and new ways of working? Because we came from a certain context when we were managing so many roles and we were expected to be superwomen, great wives, great partners, great lovers, great cooks, great moms, and great activists. From that, this generation, you people, have been able to assert and learned to say the no that we were so tentative about. So it's a big move for us to know and see that you people are able to say no and even say no to us. No, this is it, enough. Now, these are the things that this generation has to strengthen because of the fact that in front of us, we are losing not 20, 30 years of work, but much more than that. All the institutions that got strenuously built over the several decades have come to a very, very weak point of time. Learning is a two-way process, and I clearly appreciate the fact that young people do have a lot of regard for the previous generation as we had for the generation previous to us. Now, handling the dynamics of losses is also a big thing that we have to deal with. Because today now mental health is becoming a big issue that groups are having to deal with. How are you going to deal with the fact that it's not only COVID? COVID is here for another 2 years. In the shadow of the COVID pandemic, what has been taken away from us is not only our life and our health. It's not only health security, but also our rights for democracy, for voice of dissent, for mobility, for movement, our sense of security or insecurity with other communities, other nations. So all of this is something that we are having to think through in much more depth and breadth. So the transfer of learning may be happening between generations. But the fact is that this generation has a lot of responsibility. All we can say is that we're really happy that very capable hands and shoulders are carrying forward the batons and the torches for women's rights and equality and empowerment. But there is a lot of work lying ahead, which is not easy for any of you. But it's good that it's getting articulated the way it is getting articulated. Thank you so much to Sakhi Kendra, National Alliance of Women, and all my colleagues and participants present here for listening me out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shibaji. It was really great listening to you, and you placed it so well. And obviously, we'll take it forward and we'll take your suggestions. Now we have Neelam Chaturvedi ji, who's a General Secretary of Sakhi Kendra and one of the founding member of NAVO and treasurer of NAVO. I would request her to speak on the strategy for bringing generation equality in action. Please, Neelam ji.
Thank you, Prachi. And सभी लोगों को हमारा अभिवादन, सान्या सेठ, प्रियंका, और हमें लग रहा है आज 3-4 हम लोगों को छोड़ के बाकी सब यहाँ यंग ब्लड बैठा हुआ है। हमको याद है कि जब हम 18 इयर्स के थे और पहली बार एक मूवमेंट में हम जेल गए थे, तो हमें लगता था कि हम बस अब पूरी दुनिया के लोग जेंडर इक्वालिटी के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, पैट्रियार्कल वैल्यूज को मिनिमाइज करने की बात कर रहे हैं, तो बस अब तो अगले 10-15 सालों में हमारी पूरे सारी जगह जेंडर इक्वालिटी हो जाएगी। हमको याद है कि जब बीजिंग के लिए 4th वर्ल्ड विमेन कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए पूरे हिंदुस्तान में क्या पूरी दुनिया में जिस तरह से ये पहला था जिसपे इतनी मेहनत की गई, हमको याद है हमने उत्तराखंड और यूपी में मेरे को लगता है कि 2-3 दर्जन मीटिंगें की थी और तमाम लोगों को लेके हम लोग गए और वहां ऐसा लगता था जैसे कुछ छूटने नहीं पाए। अगर हम उसके बाद से लगातार हम लोग बीजिंग +5, 10 सब अटेंड करते चले गए और आज जब हम जनरेशन इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं तो हमें हमारी जो आज की जनरेशन है वो हमसे कई गुना आगे है। हमने जब समाज में चेंज लाने के बारे में सोचा था तो हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन इतनी ज्यादा नहीं थी। हमारे पास हमारे अंदर हम लोगों के अंदर एक आग थी। हमें लगता था और लगता है कि ये हमारा पैशन है, ये हमारी लाइफ है, ये हमारा काम नहीं है। लेकिन अगर हम उसके बाद देखें तो MSW, BSW और धीरे धीरे करके ये लोगों ने इस पे भी पढ़ाई करनी शुरू की क्योंकि इसमें स्कोप देखने लगे और जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात थी कि लोग पढ़ने के साथ साथ इंटर्नशिप करने लग गए ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में आकर, जो लॉ कर रहे हैं, जो अलग अलग सब्जेक्ट में हैं। ये जो जनरेशन में लोग आए और ये जो पीढ़ी है, ये जो सीख रही है और इतनी ढेर सारी इंफॉर्मेशन से जो सीख रही है, आज हम यही कहेंगे कि हम लोगों ने एक, ऐसा नहीं है, एक जमीन बनाई है आपके लिए, जैसे हमारे बुजुर्गों ने हमारे लिए जमीन बनाई थी। हमने पैट्रियार्कल वैल्यूज को मिनिमाइज करने के लिए बहुत कुछ किया, जिसकी आग हमारे निर्भया कांड के समय दिल्ली में थी, कि लोगों के अंदर जो आग थी वो हम सब हिंदुस्तान के लोगों ने जो काम किया था, जो लोगों के अंदर सोच पैदा की थी, वो उसका नतीजा था। लेकिन अगर हम देखें तो जब हम स्ट्रैटेजी की बात करेंगे कि जनरेशन इक्वालिटी हम कैसे लाएं, तो हमें दोस्तों, हमारे यंग बच्चों, हमें बहुत आपको सतर्क रहने की जरूरत है। हमें पॉइंट आउट करना होगा कि कहां कहां जनरेशन इनइक्वालिटी है, और वहां वहां हमको लगातार सोचना, नई तरह से स्ट्रैटेजीज बनानी पड़ेंगी। हमें देखना होगा कि परिवार में कहां भेद भाव के साथ हो रहा है, हमें उसको खत्म करने की कोशिश हमें करनी होगी। हमें ये देखना होगा कि जो लड़कियों को आज तक ये सिखा दिया कि इतनी वायलेंस तो चलती है, अब आप लड़की हो तो इतना कुछ तो चलेगा, लड़कियों के नाम पे गालियां तो चलेंगी, दलित लड़कियों को तो ये बर्दाश्त करना पड़ेगा। हमें ये एक्सेप्टेंस को हर जगह से खत्म करने की पूरी रणनीति बनानी होगी कि हम वायलेंस न करेंगे और न बर्दाश्त करेंगे। अगर हम देखें 2005 से लगाकर लगातार रोजगार घटे हैं, और अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर की तो स्थितियां जो 45 करोड़ हैं, उनमें जो महिलाएं हैं उनकी स्थितियां तो और भी ज्यादा खराब है। तो हमें वहां भी देखना होगा कि यह रोजगार क्यों लगातार घट रहे हैं। हम महिलाओं की जो आज की पीढ़ी है, उसका जो मेन रोजगार थे उन्हें खत्म करके वो सिर्फ मल्टीनेशनल कंपनियों के सामान बेच रहे हैं, और एक टारगेट, उनको टारगेट बेस्ड काम करना होता है। वो इतना बिजी रहते हैं कि बाकी कुछ सोचने की स्थिति नहीं होती, इधर कहने की जरूरत नहीं है। लेकिन लंबे समय से हम जो यूथ को देख रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि यूथ में आग कम है, यूथ की उस तरह से सोच नहीं रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, लेकिन अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी लगातार कम हो रही है, उससे भी वो बहुत परेशान है। उससे इसलिए परेशान है कि उनको लगता है कि आज अगर वो कुछ कहना चाहते हैं जो हमारे संविधान में है, तो उनको कभी कभी तो कहा जाता है कि तुम देशद्रोही ही हो। यह जो स्टिग्मा है, इससे आज का यूथ कहीं ना कहीं डर रहा है। हमें एक चीज तो समझनी होगी कि अगर हम जनरेशन इक्वालिटी लाना चाहते हैं, तो हमें एक तो हमने जो कहा हर जगह पॉइंट आउट, हम धर्म में, रिलीजन में हम उन चीजों को बिल्कुल यूज नहीं करें जो हमें पीछे ले जाने की बात करती है। हम उनको यूज कर सकते हैं जो हमें मदद करेंगी। पॉलिटिक्स में, हर जगह, कल्चर में, हमें सारी जगह पॉइंट आउट करना पड़ेगा कि कहां कहां पर हमें किस तरह से चेंज की जरूरत है। दूसरी एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बात है, और वो ये कि हम आज चाहे गांव में बैठ के बातचीत कर रहे हो, चाहे स्लम्स में बैठ के बात कर रहे हो, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल, नेशनल लेवल, इंटरनेशनल लेवल, हमने आज तक जो 2 दर्जन देशों में जाके मीटिंगें अटेंड की, लगभग 150 मुल्कों के लोगों से मिले, हमने देखा कि जनरेशन इक्वालिटी की जो बात है, उनके जो मुद्दे हैं वो लगभग एक जैसे हैं। इसलिए उन मुद्दों पर जहां पर भी डिस्कशन हो रहे हैं, जहां पर भी मंथन किया जा रहा है, जहां पर भी सुझाव आ रहे हैं, हमें उसमें से सुझावों को खींच के और लोगों के बीच फैलाना होगा। ये हमारी आज की जनरेशन जरूर कर सकती है, क्योंकि वो सारी चीजें हम लोगों के ऊपर लागू होती हैं। सीडा हमारे लिए एक हथियार है, जो कि जिसपे कि वर्ल्ड के तमाम लगभग सभी मुल्कों ने हस्ताक्षर किया है इस समझौते पे। हमें इसको भी सरल शब्दों में, रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में हमको नीचे तक पहुंचाना है। हमें स्कूल, कॉलेजेस, सारी जगह पहुंचाने की कोशिश करनी है। हमारे पास बहुत दिक्कतें थी शायद जब हम लोगों ने काम शुरू किया था, लेकिन आज की जो यंग जनरेशन है, उनके लिए हम लोग बैठे हुए हैं कि कहां आपको जरूरत है, हम आपकी मदद करने को तैयार हैं, हम बहुत सारी चीजें शेयर करने को तैयार हैं। लेकिन हम यंग जनरेशन से यह जरूर कहना चाहेंगे कि इसको अपनी थर्स्ट बनाइए, इसको अपनी हंगर बनाइए, कैंपेन शुरू करिए। रशियन कवि एक हैं, उनका शायद सुना होगा आपने, उनकी कविता में ये कहते हैं कि चलो इस देश की सूरत को बदलने के लिए चलो, जिसको जो कुछ आता है, जिसे लिखना आता है वो लिख कर, जिसे गाना गाना आता है वो कर, जिसे एक्टिंग करनी आती है वो एक्टिंग करके, जिसे बोलना आता है वो बोल कर, आओ सब लोग मिलके इस देश की सूरत बदलने के लिए चलें। तो हमारे यंग दोस्तों, हमको यही कैंपेन चलानी होगी। जिसको जो कुछ आता है, जो अपने लेवल पे जो कर सकता है, जिसकी जितनी क्षमताएं हैं, हमें उन सबको अपने साथ लेना होगा और पैट्रियार्कल वैल्यूज को मिनिमाइज करना होगा। फैमिलीज लव बेस्ड करनी होगी, जहां सबके डिसीजन से सारी चीजें तय हो। हमें जेंडर इक्वालिटी लानी होगी, विमेन वायलेंस को मिनिमाइज करना होगा और हमें जनरेशन इक्वालिटी पर सोचना होगा, हमें उसको स्ट्रेंथन करना होगा। हमें लगता है इन सब बहुत हमें आज सुनना था, लेकिन फिर हमने कहा कि नहीं, थोड़ा सा हम जरूर, तो आज हम यही चाहेंगे कि व्यवहारिक तौर पे आज की जो जनरेशन है वो कैसे इसको अपनी थ्रस्ट बना सकती, कैसे अपना पैशन बना सकती है, किस तरह से स्ट्रैटेजी रख सकती है। आज हम सुनना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि आज जो बैठे हैं वो ऑडियंस खाली नहीं है, भीड़ नहीं है। आज जो बैठे हैं वो हर जगह के लीडर्स हैं, जिनके पीछे 1500 लोग हैं। तो हम ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि आज जो यहाँ पर अगर 25 यंग लोग बैठे हैं, तो हम ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि उसमें से हमें 1000 का गुणा कर देना है, मल्टीप्लाई कर देनी है, यानी 25,000 तक हमारी आवाज जाएगी। और अगर ये बेहतर चीजें जब निकल के आएंगी और हम बूस्ट करेंगे इसको, तो लाखों लोगों तक रीच जाएगी। इसलिए आज जो आप कहने वाले हैं वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, और हम चाहेंगे कि यह जनरेशनल इक्वालिटी कैसे लाई जाए, इस पे आप बहुत व्यवहारिक तरह से अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी रखें। थैंक यू प्राची, थैंक यू।
बहुत प्यारे तरह से आपने अपनी बात रखी नीलम जी। थैंक यू, बहुत अच्छा लगा आपको सुन के। अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। नाउ वी हैव प्रतिष्ठा सिंह अमंग अस, who is an author, national in charge cell for women in organized and unorganized sector for All India Mahila Congress. She will speak on the strategy in bringing generation equality in action, role of youth. Please, Pratishtha, continue.
Thank you so much, Prachi.
We can't
It
see
was
you,
so nice.
Pratishtha. Yeah,
Can you
now we
see
can
me
see you.
now?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
so
yeah.
nice listening to everyone, giving such insightful talks about the issue. I have very little time, but there are a few things that I really must say. One of those things is, of course, we've been talking so much, and it was nice to hear so much of talk about UN Women and how policy changes need to be made, not like across the globe, but also, of course, in India in a big way. And I also second the opinion that policy changes themselves would not be enough if there are not, equating social changes which come about. So both of those things I completely agree with. But one thing that I think is essential, absolutely, is in so far, whenever we talk about women's issues, whenever we talk about gender equality, we always talk about more representation. We talk about how to get more and more women into various spheres, whether it is politics, whether it's the parliament, or it is, other spaces, university teaching, etc. How can we have more representation? I think it is high time that we moved on from that and we went to contribution, as in terms of how much of the GDP is made up by women in the country, as in what kind of tax contributions they make, what kind of money they earn, what kind of wealth they create. Because considering that कहा जाता है कि औरतें आधी आबादी हैं और almost आधी आबादी हैं हिंदुस्तान में, unless we make up half of that chunk of wealth, in terms of wealth creation, I don't think it makes any sense, because representation many times I have seen is just like, sort of just like a face value item that is given to women. You can be a representative here, but that does not mean that they are able to create wealth, or they are necessarily paid jobs or tasks that they are made to do as representatives of, especially, not just fine, bigger women's commission, state level, national level, of course, there, yes, but in other places it is just an honorary position. So women are usually, they're not able to partake in wealth creation, and we need to really question that, and we need to start working on that. That is the first thing. The second thing is, definitely, for gender equality, it is essential. One of the basic strategies, I think, comes from education. We have to, make sure, not that we have to educate more girls, that of course, yes, and we all know that that's important. But I think even, private schools and public schools, wherever kids are going out to get education, we have to make sure that within the syllabus, there are some papers which are included which bring up the boys to the level of girls as well. Because what we are doing is, many places I feel that we are doing a lot of good hand holding with the girl students, but what happens is that kind of creates a bigger divide, because we tend to leave behind the male students, and we kind of don't make them feel that this is important for them as well. Because women empowerment is something which is very important and essential also for the males of the society, for themselves, as people, as wealth creators, as entrepreneurs. It's very important for them. So we don't do that. So I think that needs to be done. And of course, I always say this, that I think that we have to make sure that whenever we are talking to women, like, Kendra, like Sakhi Kendra, you people, or anybody who is trying to help out women, should make sure that they involve the male counterpart in the exercise, because that brings a lot of that brings a sense of equality to the whole thing, because if you're just explaining it to the woman, it will not percolate down to the society somehow as well as it would if you are talking to both the components of the social system. So that, of course, is the second thing that I wanted to say. And the final thing, I think another very important strategy is that for gender equality is to understand that being a woman is not only a matter of biology. It's a social gender as well. We have to be very conscious of social genders. We have to be very conscious that there are many women out there who are in power positions and who are women, who are biological women, but they behave as social males. They create bigger exploitation nexus for other women. They create worse working environments for other women, etc. So I think one of the most important strategies to bring about gender equality is to make sure that there is that women stick together. No matter what, women stick together, and we understand and we call out people who don't do that. We call out, and it's the same thing as when I was talking about wealth creation. Also, it's the same idea that women, as women, if we are able to, we refuse to work below a certain pay scale. We demand equality. I know, I mean, I was just listening to Neelam ji talking about it, and the truth is that because of people like her, because of people before us, you know, who started the battle or kind of continued the battle, generations before us also, I mean, I'm sure before her as well, they in some way made it easier for us. You know, they suffered, but they brought some sort of a comfort for us, for our generation, and we can do that for the next generation. So I think even at the cost of suffering a little bit, we should demand equal pay, we should demand equal respect, we should stick together at all costs. And the last thing that I want to say in terms of gender equality and in terms of equality in general in the society, I think we have to move away from an ageist society. Our society, Indian society, most of Southeast Asian society is extremely ageist. We either tend towards younger people or towards older people. We think that the older ones have the experience and the younger ones have the energy. And I don't believe that at all. I just think that a driven individual at all ages contains that energy, contains that passion to drive it forward. So I think that to bring about, and that works, that fits very well also the idea of feminism, because what happens is, and I talk to a lot of older women, especially in rural areas, who are smart, confident women who can bring about some change, and they try to do some work on their little level throughout their lives, but after a certain point they feel that now nobody will really pay attention to me because I am a woman of a certain age, and people don't think I bring any great thing to the table, which is not true. So I think that as women, we have to stick with each other no matter what age, what issues we raise. We have to believe each other, and we have to drive ourselves as far away from ageism as possible, because feminism and gender equality do not belong just to people of a certain age. They are not restricted to people of a certain age, and they should not be the prerogative of people of a certain age. So, well, that's it. Thank you so much for having me, Prachi. It was really nice talking to you all and listening to you all, most importantly.
It is so good to see you, Pratishtha.
Lovely seeing
And
you
you
too.
always talk so good.
Thank you.
And I just love to watch you all talking.
Thank you so much, Prachi. Same here. I also really enjoy your sessions, and it's such interesting milieu of people that you managed to get. I mean, hats off. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you,
all the best. Thank you.
Now we have Pooja Ketan Naik among us, who's an actress and a runner-up of Mrs. India 2018, and she's an engineer, she's a businesswoman. So she will speak on strategy itself. So please, Pooja.
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank Prachi for having me here. I mean,
My pleasure.
Tanya ji, Priyanka, Shiba ma'am, Neelam ma'am, Pratiksha, इन सब के नाम, I mean, मैंने लिख के रखे हैं, because each one of them had so much to, you know, give out. And मुझे ऐसे लगता है ना, जब हम हमारी जिंदगी में बहुत ज्यादा भागदौड़ होती है और जब हम ऐसे सेशंस के पार्ट होते हैं, so you know it makes us better human being, जो कि हम यूजुअल हमारे मोनोटोनस लाइफ में भूल जाते हैं. जो हमारे वैल्यूज है वो वापस टेबल पर आते हैं. And like Priyanka said, that you know, don't be a menu, be somebody who sits on the table. I believe we should go one step ahead and make our own table if they don't get us on the table. So first of all, a very good evening to one and all. And you know, जब भी लोग ये कहते हैं कि तुम एक औरत हो और तुम ये नहीं कर सकती, या तुम एक औरत हो, क्या तुम ये कर सकती हो? So I get back and I take a reality check. I mean, India has seen women like Indira Gandhi ji, जो कि multiple times PM रही है. We've got women like Kalpana Chawla, जो कि space में जाके आई है. And contrast में we've got women like Dhanu, who was a suicide bomber, जिन्होंने राजीव गांधी जी का assassination किया था. When I say suicide bomber, I do not intend to glorify those kind of women, but what I want to make, the kind of point I want to make is, एक औरत मेंटली इतनी सक्षम हो सकती है, नेगेटिवली ऑफ कोर्स, या उसका थॉट प्रोसेस इतना रिजिड हो सकता है कि वो एक सुसाइड बॉम्बर भी हो सकती है, जो कि बार नहीं सोचते. ओके. और जब मैं ये कहती हूँ, it is not a very right thing to probably say that, लेकिन मुझे ऐसे लगता है जब लोग मुझसे ये कहते हैं कि पूजा तुम एक औरत हो, क्या तुम ये कर सकती हो, तो मुझे तो लगता है कि यार औरतें सुसाइड बॉम्बर तक हो चुकी है, तो यू नो मैं तो कुछ ना कुछ अपनी जिंदगी में थोड़ा बहुत कर ही लूंगी. So guys, when I speak about myself, you know, I was born to this amazing, incredible parents. My dad was a cop. He served the Mumbai police, and my mother, she was a homemaker. Okay, she took a lot of effort in raising us and trying to raise us well. जब तक मैं घर में थी, स्कूल में थी, सब कुछ ठीक था. लेकिन मुझे याद है कि जैसे ही मेरी 10th का बोर्ड खत्म हुआ है, आई वाज एडमिटेड इन पाटकर कॉलेज, और मैं कुछ लिस्ट वगैरह देखने कॉलेज जा रही थी. तो ये एक इंसिडेंट बताना चाहूंगी. आज से मैं 18 साल पहले की बात कर रही हूँ. तो बोरीवली और कांदिवली के बीच में एक नया प्लेटफॉर्म बन रहा था, जिसको आज 7 नंबर या 8 नंबर प्लेटफॉर्म बोलते हैं, क्योंकि उधर वो कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था. तो हमेशा ऐसा होता था कि बोरीवली कांदिवली के बीच में ट्रेन जो है वो 10 मिनट 15 मिनट के लिए हॉल्ट होती थी. अब ऐसा नहीं था कि मैं रात के वक्त ट्रैवल कर रही थी, शाम के 4 बजे थे, और यूजुअली मुंबई में पीक आवर्स जो है वो 4:30 से 5 बजे के बीच होते हैं. जब वो ट्रेन रास्ते आई मीन प्लेटफॉर्म छोड़ने लग गई, तो देयर वाज दिस जेंटलमैन हु गॉट इनसाइड द ट्रेन. पहले तो मुझे लगा कि हो सकता है कि यू नो समटाइम्स ट्रेन मिस होती है तो कोई भी डब्बे में चढ़ जाते हैं, एंड आई वाज इन अ फर्स्ट क्लास वुमेन्स कंपार्टमेंट. जब वो चढ़े अंदर, तो आई वाज काम कि ठीक है, हो सकता है कि उनकी ट्रेन छूटी हो, इसके लिए वो चढ़े. बट द नेक्स्ट मोमेंट व्हाट ही डिड वाज ही अनजिप्ड हिज पैंट्स एंड ही ट्राइड टू फोर्स हिमसेल्फ ऑन मी. ये किस्सा जो है वो मैं करीबन मतलब जब हुआ उसके बाद आज तक मैंने इस किस्से का जिक्र वापस कभी नहीं किया. बट मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे ऐसी चीजें जो हमारे साथ हुई है वो प्रोजेक्ट करना बहुत ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि हम में से बहुत सारी तो स्ट्रांग महिला है ही, लेकिन अगर कोई पेरेंट्स है यहाँ तो उनको भी प्रोबेबली एक प्रोजेक्टिव मिलता है कि ऐसे सिचुएशन में बच्चों को कैसे हैंडल किया जाता है. आई वॉज वेरी नाइव, आई वॉज ओनली 15. उस आदमी ने मेरे साथ जबरदस्ती करने की कोशिश की. अब जब हमारे बीच हाथापाई हुई, आई डोंट नो व्हाट गॉट इनटू मी, मैंने उसको ट्रेन के बाहर फेंक दिया. I threw him outside the train. मैं कांदिवली पे उतरी and I was numb. मतलब मुझे आज भी goosebumps आते हैं when I narrate that incident, you know. I was numb. मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि मेरे साथ क्या हुआ. Okay? एक बहुत ही what you say, जैसे अंडे में होते हैं बच्चे, एक क्लोज शेल में मैं रही थी पूरी जिंदगी. ठीक है, और ये मेरे साथ क्या हो गया. I was crying and crying. When I got back home, my mother asked me, you know, कि क्या हुआ, why are you crying? So I told her कि मम्मा ऐसा हुआ, और मैंने एक बंदे को ट्रेन के बाहर फेंक दिया और वो मर गया। अब यूजुअली ऐसे सिचुएशंस में क्या होता है कि पेरेंट्स लड़कियों को ब्लेम करते हैं कि तुमने ही कुछ किया होगा, या तुमने जीन्स पहनी होगी। जैसे निर्भया का जो ये एपिसोड हुआ था, उसमें बहुत सारे मेल्स थे जिन्होंने कहा कि अरे वो रात को घर के बाहर थी, उसने जीन्स पहनी थी, इसके लिए उसके साथ ऐसा हुआ। बट यू नो व्हाट, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि I was so fortunate that at that given point of time I had such supportive parents. What they did was, my mother called up my father, they took me to the police station. Okay, जो भी formalities है वो की, उस बंदे के sketches बनाए गए, फिर पता चला कि वो भगवती में एडमिट है क्योंकि उसके पैरों के ऊपर से ट्रेन निकल गई थी। अब दूसरा शॉकिंग इंसिडेंट ये था कि अगर उसके पैरों के ऊपर से ट्रेन निकल गई तो मैंने तो जब उसे फेंका था तब ट्रेन रुकी हुई थी, तो ही हैड द टाइम टू गेट ऑफ द ट्रैक और समथिंग। जब उसके ब्लड रिपोर्ट्स आए तो पता चला कि वो एक गर्दुल्ला था, ही वाज अ ड्रग एडिक्ट। जो मुंबई में रहते उन्होंने देखा होगा, ट्रेन के नीचे वो इंजेक्शन लेके प्लेटफॉर्म्स के नीचे, शेल्टर्स के नीचे जो लोग लेते हैं। अब व्हेन आई नरेट दिस इंसिडेंट, टुडे आई एम 33 years old, आज व्हेन आई लुक बैक, अगर इट वाज अटेम्प्ट टू रेप, इट वाज अटेम्प्ट टू रेप, अगर वो क्रिया हो जाती तो जो फिजिकल या जो मेंटल टॉर्चर मुझे होना होता वो तो होता, लेकिन अगर वो बंदा एक HIV पॉजिटिव होता या अगर उसको STD होता तो एट द एज ऑफ 15 मेरी तो पूरी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो जाती। सो यू नो व्हाट, एट दैट given point of time, my parents made me feel that whatever I did was in self defense and it was heroic, and that is something that changed my life. Uske baad I was a go getter. I wanted to do everything, and there is nothing wrong with wanting everything in life. I did my engineering, my parents were supportive. I did my MBA, my parents were supportive. I set up my first business. I am on as a board of director on few businesses, but I set up my first business at the age of 21. I acted. मेरे शादी के 4 महीने बाद, जब यूजुअली इंडिया में औरतें सिर्फ रिचुअल्स और रीति रिवाज में अटकी रहती है, माय हस्बैंड वाज सो सपोर्टिव दैट आई कंटेस्टेड मिसेस इंडिया, जबकि मेरे सिर्फ शादी को 4 महीने हुए थे। अब मैं ये क्यों बोल रही हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि वी विमेन नाउ वी आर वेरी स्ट्रांग। ओके, अगर हम राइट वैल्यूज के साथ चले तो वी कैन क्रश द वर्ल्ड एंड वी कैन डू थिंग्स ऑन आवर टर्म्स। एंड मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि इसमें आई कीप ऑन कमिंग बैक टू द पॉइंट कि ब्रिंगिंग अप या जो हमारे वैल्यूज इनकलकेट होते हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं, क्योंकि वो वैल्यूज हमारे साथ पूरी जिंदगी चलते रहते हैं। नीलम जी ने कहा कि हमारे पहले जनरेशन ने बहुत मुशक्कत की थी, सो टुडे वी टेक अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स फॉर ग्रांटेड, जो कि हमारी माएँ, उनकी ग्रैंड मदर्स had to slog for example education, basic education, जो कि आज के डेट में बहुत ज्यादा, मैं ये नहीं कहती कि हमने हमारा एपिटोम रीच किया है, लेकिन हाँ आज के डेट में बेसिक स्कूल एजुकेशन ये एक आसानी से मिलने वाली चीज है। आज की डेट में महिलाएं, औरतें काम पे जाती है जो कि आज से 50 साल पहले नहीं जाती थी। राइट टू चूज योर पार्टनर, अगर आप प्यार करते हैं किसी से तो आप उससे शादी करें, ये एक बहुत बड़ी चीज हुआ करती थी। People in the older generations were not allowed. And सबसे important, आप जब एक बच्चे को अपने पेट में 9 महीने रखते हैं और उसे जनते हैं, अगर वो बच्ची है ओके तो उसे कूड़े में फेंक दिया जाता था, ये होता था, and it's a reality. ओके, लेकिन आज के डेट में एटलीस्ट मोस्ट ऑफ द लेडीज, मोस्ट ऑफ द जो महिला है उनके पास ये राइट है कि वो अपने बच्चे को अपना पाए। सो आई थिंक ये एक बहुत बड़ा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन है, एंड हैट्स ऑफ to the ladies who were working before us, जो हमारे पहले का जनरेशन है, उनके वजह से हमें ये चीजें मिलती रही बात कल्चर की, तो मैं एक मराठी हूँ। ओके, मैं किस्सा बताना चाहूंगी। हमारे यहाँ शिवाजी महाराज जो है उनको हम अडोर करते हैं, उनको हम पूछते हैं। सो हमारे में कहा जाता है अगर जिजाऊ, मतलब जो शिवाजी महाराज की माँ थी, वो ना होती तो छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज नहीं होते। और इसका अगर हम रिवर्स करें तो जब शाहजी राजे की डेथ हुई, जो कि शिवाजी महाराज के फादर थे, तो उस जमाने में सती जाना ये एक बहुत कॉमन प्रैक्टिस हुआ करती थी, लेकिन शिवाजी महाराज ने अपनी मदर को सती जाने नहीं दिया, जो कि मुझे लगता है बहुत ज्यादा प्रोग्रेसिव थॉट था। तो हम जब कल्चर की बातें करते हैं तो हम कल्चर के बेसिस पे हमारी औरतों को पीछे खींचते कि नहीं, ये हमारे कल्चर का पार्ट नहीं है और हमें ये नहीं करना चाहिए, आपको ये नहीं करना चाहिए, आपको जीन्स नहीं पहननी चाहिए, आपको साड़ियां पहननी चाहिए, and unginet rituals that are part of the cultural so called norm. But I believe हमारे कल्चर ने हमें प्रोग्रेसिवनेस भी सिखाया है, लेकिन हमारा जो सोसाइटी है वो बहुत सिलेक्टिव है, वो अपने कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से कल्चर की मर्यादा को बांधता है. सो आई बिलीव वी नीड टू ब्रेक दैट ग्लास सीलिंग. और ये जब मैं कहती हूँ जो औरतें मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटीज में हैं उनके पास तो एक प्रोबेबली अपर एज है, लेकिन आज के डेट में भी इंडिया का 70% पॉपुलेशन जो है वो आज भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे है. तो क्या उन औरतों को कल्चर के नाम पे नहीं दबाया जाता? क्या उन्हें वो सब सुख सुविधाएं मिलती है जो कि एक औरत का नहीं, मैं आई विल वांट टू पुट इट दैट वे, हैविंग अ डिग्निफाइड लाइफ इज अ बेसिक नेसेसिटी, for a man, for a woman, for a child, even for an animal for that matter, so I believe in those kind of values. हमारे में ऐसे कितने लोग हैं जो अपने माँ को बोलते हैं, अरे मम्मा मुझे इरिटेट मत करो, आप मुझे बहुत इरिटेट कर रहे हो. लेकिन कितने लोग हैं जो इस टोन में अपने फादर से बात कर सकते हैं? लोग नहीं करते. ये बेसिक जो चीजें मैं अभी बोल रही हूँ ये हमारे कल्चर में बहुत ज्यादा, या हमारे व्हाट यू से सोसाइटी में बहुत ज्यादा नॉर्मलाइज की जाती है, लेकिन जो कि नॉर्मल नहीं है. I remember an interview of Rajdeep Sardesai with Sania Mirza when she got married. She is a world champion. और उसको पूछा गया था कि अब आपने शादी कर ली है तो आप सेटल कब होगे, आपको बच्चा कब होगा? क्या औरत की परिभाषा सिर्फ इतना ही है कि उसका सेटल होना मतलब उसको बच्चा होना है? I mean, life is much beyond all these prospects, and it's high time that not only us, people around us realize that we have issues like, dowry, rapes, marital rapes, prostitution, safety, education, child labor, healthcare, equal pay for equal work. ये सारे issues है जो कि मुझे लगता है जिन पे चर्चा होनी चाहिए on all the levels, and कैसे है, जब तक ये चीजें पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म पे नहीं आएंगी तब तक उसमें बहुत ज्यादा चेंजेस होने का चांस नहीं है. एक मैंने कहावत पढ़ी थी कि द हैंड दैट रॉक्स द क्रैडल रूल्स द वर्ल्ड. ओके, ये कहावत बहुत ज्यादा व्हाट यू से टर्म्स में लागू तो पड़ती है, लेकिन मुझे इसके साथ और एक चीज कहनी है कि वी नीड टू बी इक्वल ह्यूमैनिस्ट. ओके, इट इज जैसे प्रतीक्षा जी ने कहा कि वॉइस पे भी तवज्जो देना जरूरी है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि आज के डेट में तो जो इंसिडेंट्स न्यूज वगैरह में आते हैं हमारे सोसाइटी में, तो जो बच्चे हैं और जो लड़के हैं वो भी सेफ नहीं है, राइट? सो वी नीड टू बी फेमिनिस्ट एंड वी नीड टू बी इक्वल ह्यूमैनिस्ट. ओके, as men and women we don't need to be competition. I don't consider only ki any male is a competition to me. I run my own races. Okay, matlab main I don't I don't want to be a narcissist, but I really believe कि तुम तुम्हारे जगह सही हो, and तुम्हें बहुत ज्यादा congratulations कि तुम तुम्हारे लाइफ में जो कर रहे हो. लेकिन मैं तुमसे compete ही नहीं करना चाहती, क्योंकि जो मैं कर सकती हूँ वो probably तुम्हें करने की तुम्हें शायद क्षमता ही ना हो. और मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि मर्द और औरत ये competition से ज्यादा collaboration होना चाहिए, because that is how we can strike a balance in this society, and that is how when that is done, it is the best. So yeah, that's all I want to say, and I have spoken my heart out, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Pooja. Thanks a lot for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story, and it was really lovely listening to you. Now, moving forward, we have Asumipata among us, who is a founder of Abhibiti Foundation, convener, Social Equity Alliance. She'll speak on strategy for bringing generation equality in action, role of youth. Please, Asumipata, you there? Asumipata, you there? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Hello,
Thank
hello.
you. Yes, yes, thank you.
Hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Asmita.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I think there was a power cut in between, so I just went lost.
Oh, no problem.
So thanks. I have been. It was very wonderful listening to. I hope am I audible? Hello.
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. It was wonderful listening to many, and so I will not repeat most of the things. I just wanted to quote two recent incidents that has happened for a better understanding or to engage with the younger generation. It is a 14-year-old killed herself for not being able to attend online class. I think many would be knowing this incident. And she is from a Dalit colony. And there was another incident. Yesterday it was reported. It was a tribal girl who could not attend online class, but she started her own smart class teaching her village kids with her own little knowledge, the lessons, the languages, and the essential skills to compensate for the closure of schools in COVID. So both incidences have happened in the same region, and they are of the same group. The problem is the same. The obstacles, the context, the situation they were facing were the same. But the response to the situation made a difference. One chose to end her life, the other chose to provide alternative to the same problem with the available resources. This is the difference I think we have to make, especially among the youth. You know, people were talking about the shift in perspectives. Yeah, that shift in perspectives, which is intergenerational, intersectional approach, is important for achieving gender equality and more specifically the inclusion of the marginalized community. Because we have been, for many decades, we have been fighting, but even today, there are challenges for women and there are obstacles. And there are very few women who can say that I don't look at men as as a competitor. But there are still at the rural, at the grassroots, there is a great challenge, life-threatening events happening for challenging men and challenging particularly men from the upper caste. But for no age is exceptional and no generation is immune. But the disadvantaged communities or the marginalized communities are more vulnerable and face multiple forms of discrimination or exclusion and exploitation. For example, the Dalit women are victims of both Brahmanical patriarchy and Dalit patriarchy. They suffer as Dalits, as poor, and as women. And they are targeted by the dominant caste and as a way of humiliating the entire communities. So the Dalit women are victims of incidents such as sexual assault, rape, and naked parading. You know, as Shiva already pointed out about the religious fundamentalism. With the increase of religious fundamentalism, the caste violence too is increasing. And the young people's sexuality are under attack. With the increasing love and intercaste marriages, honor killing and suicide are increasing, but most of it is the Dalit women who are victimized most of the time. So I think as with the agenda of generational equality and you know, the inclusion, the intersectionality has to be considered because it's time to break the barriers, it's time to break the gender stereotypes, and this can happen only by engaging the young women and girls, ensuring the participation of young women's organization, at the same time ensuring that there is a inclusion in the to tackle the unfinished agenda of equality. So I think see, because most of the things have been spoken out, I just conclude with that there should be a intersectional perspective, and that the youth should be given the power. The power, without the power, just a representation cannot make a big change. So increasing the participation of young women, especially the young girls in political and decision making, strengthening their voices, supporting their initiatives, ensuring their participation, educating the youth and organizing and ensuring there is a equal partnership can particularly among the marginalized community can bring change, and that can be effective in the realization of gender equality. So engaging the youth from the grassroots, the youth from the marginalized in advocacy for gender equality can bring a change, and particularly in different sectors like private sectors, public sectors and corporate can make a difference to bring the gender equality. So as already as others have spoken, I would like to reinforce recognizing, encouraging the young women and girls, reducing the intergenerational gap can surely bring a change to achieve gender equality. And with that understanding, and with the request to recognize the young leadership to ensure their participation with an understanding of intersectionality and being supportive to the young women and young women organization to integrate their voices, we can help to achieve gender equality. And thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Asamapata. It's good to see youth like you, like me, like everyone's growing. And you were really good. It was really lovely listening to you. Now, moving forward, we have Dr. Sabah Yunus among us. She's a president at Tabir Foundation, and she'll speak on a strategy on bringing generation equality in action. Role of youth. Sabah.
Thank you,
Please take the
Prachi,
lead.
for giving me this opportunity to speak on such an interesting topic. Very
My
good
pleasure.
afternoon to all the dignitaries and everybody present here. After listening to the wonderful speeches of Sanya, Priyanka, Shiva, Pratishtha, Asumta, I don't think there's much left to say, so I won't take too long. I worked on gender equality. I'm an ICC member of Reserve Bank of India since 2018. I do workshops and impart training to the bank employees on how to keep their organization safe and happy place for working women. And I'm proud to tell you that RBI Kanpur is 100% women-friendly organization having zero sexual harassment case. And I've also delivered speeches on gender equality in few international conferences held in Europe and America. But this term, generation equality, is quite interesting and worthy enough as it speaks about achieving equal rights and opportunities for everybody. It is for everyone, no matter the age, race, gender, religion, hometown, sexual preferences. I believe it includes right to health facilities, right to equal pay, right to protect our personal space, right to justice, right to privacy, right to protect one's own dignity. These are the few fundamental rights which we have for us written in the Constitution, but in practicality, we often see its open violation by powerful people in a society, for which I think we need a strict rule of law and few modifications in our legal system as well. We are in an age of change and development when we want equality for everyone. And for that, we need to educate people. We need to make them aware of their rights, for which we need to run awareness campaigns on large scale, not only covering the urban population, but the rural one too. When common people learn about their rights and the way to protect them, then only we would be able to achieve the goal of generation equality. जैसे कि नीलम जी ने अभी कहा कि हमें जानकारी को हर लेवल तक पहुंचाना है. नीलम जी को सुन के तो मैं धन्य हो गई, क्योंकि मैं उनको बचपन से देखती चली आ रही हूँ. Now I would like to conclude by quoting Nelson Mandela, who once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." So I think that's enough because everybody has said enough. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabah. Thanks a lot. And it was really lovely listening to you. Now moving forward, We have Nihar Ashraf, who is a program associate at Ekta Resource Center for Women. She'll speak on strategy for bringing generation equality in action, role of youth.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Prachi, for giving me this opportunity to share my views on bringing
My pleasure.
into this forum. I would like to put three important points here. One is, as a young woman, I feel that there is an urgent need to create awareness at various levels on the need for a gender equal society that which is affecting the uh, current generation across. So therefore, we need to work in a continuous process on this aspect, particularly focusing on the youth. In this country, both youth, when we say youth, it's both men and women. Then, secondly, I would say that this awareness should lead to an action. It should not just be awareness. There should be an action plan later. We should facilitate and encourage young youth to challenge the stereotype gender social norms, like to come over the stereotypes that create problems for both men and women. Like when the elders say us not to do something, uh, like a girl can't go outside after a particular time. She's also been sent with a boy younger to her, which is actually not practical at all. So such small stereotypes have to be broken, uh, so that we start moving to a gender equal society. Then lastly, I would like to say more and more young researchers should take up specific issues and bring out such goals that we are able to establish those goals. We are able to reach those goals, and there should be a strong network for sharing those experience both at personal and professional society at a large. Um, like now, youth are not only in NGOs but in all sectors like IT, in other sectors, everywhere youth is, been taken a place. So I feel that there should be a network among all the fields to bring together, so that there is a proper gender equality. And finally, I conclude by saying that together we can all bring in a change. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nihar Ashraf. You're too young. Now we have Dr. Daphne Mano-Dosh, who's a member and trainer at ISM Women Development Resource Center, Madurai. She'll speak on the strategy for bringing generation equality in action, role of youth. Please, Dr. Daphne.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi everyone. Actually, thank you for inviting me as one of the speakers here. It's been wonderful listening to you all, and I'll just add few more things to that. So, despite there are so much of changes, so much of progress which has been going on, the real change which is really necessary is actually happening in a very slow pace. Today, not even a single country can tell you that it has achieved a full gender equality. So, as a result, women, they remain undervalued, they work more, they earn less, they have very few choices, and they have to experience multiple form of violence at home and also in public spaces. So today, women and girls, they try to re-image the economy, the society, the political system, so they can uphold human rights and achieve gender equality. And the main motto we have to follow here is leave no one behind. And we have to do that by including who are excluded, especially the Dalits, tribal, and marginalized women and girl children. So what we can do for that? So first we have to reclaim public awareness for that. And we have to, there should be accountability of state missionaries to bring about zero violence, and we have to use democratic voice for that. When we speak, we are usually afraid that our voice will not be heard or welcomed. So we stay in silence, but we are still afraid. So it's better to speak up. So we have to raise our voice to the society. We have to be a counter product for whatever is happening. And there should be a law reinforcement which has to happen, and justice has to be oriented towards gender issues in the law enforcement also. And we have to ensure a quality education for children of Dalit, tribal and marginalized community, and we have to eradicate child labor and border labor systems altogether, and we have to empower and build capability in Dalit, tribal and marginalized community. And we have to eradicate inhuman practices like manual scavenging. So for that, we have to protect the social, cultural, and economic rights of the community. And we have to empower the commissions which are set up for the Dalit and tribal and marginalized women. And we have to orient them how to respond to the issues which is at hand. We have to conduct debates addressing the ritual slavery, manual scavenging, and low dignity practices given for Dalit, tribal, and minority girls and women. And we have to challenge the mindset of patriarchy and capitalistic value, which is usually interconnected. So law has to be placed to protect the human rights, and proper implementing system has to be put place for that. There is usually shortage of women in decision making, so which has to be addressed with at least 50% of women participation in framing policies and enactments. So apart from that, there should be at least 50% of women participation in all parties at all levels. And there should be cessation of influence of social media-based violences against women and girls. And there should be reinforcement in destroying the image of stereotype how a women and a girl usually takes place in social media. And the people who are involved in any gender violence, they have to be banned from conducting any elections, and there should be a platform for women to raise their voice. For this, we have to conduct research. We have to have documents, lobbies, and advocate for changes in policies that are affecting the Dalit, tribal, and marginalized community. So, in the all above mentioned, the youth has to have active participation in ending the gender violence and to attain generation equality. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Defit. It was lovely listening to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now we have a question answer session. So if anybody has any question, they may ask. Any questions? Or we should end the program? Okay. So I would like Ruth Manorama ji, who is the founder of NAVO, National Alliance of Women Organization. I would like her to sum up the program now. Ruth Manorama ji, are you listening to me? Yes.
Yeah.
Please sum up the program.
I thought I will listen to everybody. Then you're suddenly asking me to summarize. Anyway, first of all, I want to thank everybody, from Sania Seth, Priyanka to Neelam to Shiba, Daphne.
Youth, your video off. So please on video.
Video is also unique. Microphone, my video. Wait a minute. Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear you, but your video is
Yes.
off.
Okay, there's some problem in the video. Okay.
Okay, okay, you can.
Okay,
I
you
will
can.
speak. I will speak, and then, and I think there is very important things have been said in the afternoon. To the young people, as well as, to the senior and old activists, to my knowledge. Like the younger persons are talking with so much conviction and so much, with the hope that they would like to be on the table when the discussions are taking place. I think it is the claim today that, we wanted to be there with all of you, and pass on the baton to us, and we will carry on. I think that is a message that all of us are getting. It is good that we would, push aside and give the spaces. One of the Dalit poet had said that, like, please, give way. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದಾರಿ ಬಿಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Means like, give way to the younger people and then let them lead. And secondly, we are very happy to hear that claim, and we would work along with you that you would really take over. Secondly, like, we have said that reality is changing today, socio-economic, politically, in the world and in India. Changes are taking place. Changes are taking place in economic situation, social situation, health situation. So therefore, today, there is a big responsibility to be carried on by the young people. That is what, Sheba had said in a talk. You have a very big responsibility to take. So therefore, that you need to take stock, while your priorities have to be also changed, and especially in the COVID situation. And then, there is so much of, intersectionality, and the centrality of the marginalized people have been spoken about. I think we get a clear indication that, like, we are not talking about for one set of people, but I think we are talking about the entire group. But we are prioritizing younger people, prioritizing the marginalized groups. Where are the marginalized groups? I think Asunta had said beautifully in the two stories that, like, the vulnerability that you see among the people of the poor today is much more trivialized than before. I think that inclusion of the marginalized is very, very necessary. And there is a need for addressing, our views need to be changed, our perspective need to be changed, the image that we project about ourselves have to be changed. So we need to do services without, losing the gains that we had before. So therefore, I think that it is the right time that the National Alliance of Women had organized this meeting to talk and get your opinions. And I wish that all of you who spoke and be responsible to each other, and we will be in National Alliance of Women able to put up a very strong platform for you. There's one woman who had said that very clearly: if they are not allowing us in the table, we will set up another platform. I think this is the same spirit. Then when the Dalit Women's platform was, done, we have also told, the Dalit women told, to the mainstream feminists, that if you are not taking our lives into account, our reality into account, we will set up a separate platform. They did so. So I think that here the call is now to work hand in hand together and see to that you prioritize the issue. And, really today, that our issue is not only just saying that we younger women want to be in the decision-making levels, but I think our decisions has to be today to see to that we save our democracy, our constitution, and a lot of other things that it's Sheba who had said that we cannot really lose the big picture in front of us. So I think that is so important to, to kind of, specialize or to put as priorities, over all other issues. So I really thank everyone who spoke in this meeting, and also Prachi for organizing this. And, the great support was given by also Neelam and others. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm not really wanted to. There was a phone call that I had to, put them together. But I think that, but I said that I don't think I should do that. So today that we need to really work on and disrupt and dismantle many of the things which are really obstacles, to attain equality is really important. Today, all over the country, while we are doing, the seminars, these webinars, like, the workers on the road, the workers on the road, workers, from yesterday onwards, domestic workers are organizing themselves. Today, all over the country, the workers, and then also farmers are organizing. And we hear many cries from everywhere. The human rights defenders are affected. I think these are also the realities around us. So it's not getting onto the table is important, and it's also important what we are bringing to the table. I think I wish all the younger women, to be. We invite you to work with us, and we would, really encourage you, and give the baton to you and provide resources and anything that is, that is going to come for the use of younger women taking leadership and making decisions and pushing forward the agenda of, generation equality. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ruth Manorama ji. And now, bye everyone. It was lovely having you all here, and it was lovely listening to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. सब लोगों को थैंक यू, स्पेशली सभी लोगों को, रूथ जी को, सान्या को, प्रियंका को, सब लोगों को बाय बाय।
Thank you.
नूपुर को भी।
Thanks, ma'am, for giving me a chance to be a part of this wonderful webinar.
थैंक यू तुम्हारा अटेंड करने के लिए। सो थैंक यू पूजा, थैंक यू डेफनी, थैंक यू सब लोग।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you, everyone.
Neelam, it has been recorded. The sessions are recorded.
Yes, recorded.
Yes, it is recorded.
Will you be able to send the link?
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Some people who have not listened, to Sanya, Seth, and Priyanka and others, they would like to hear them. If you could link it up, it would be nice. Give that link.
Okay, we'll send you the link. Okay.
Prachi,
Thank you, everyone.
can you give it now or later?
I will give it to you by tomorrow.
Tomorrow, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Not today is not possible. Today is not possible.
I'll try.
Yeah, they.
Okay, I'll try to send it by 8 or 9.
Okay, thank you everybody. Sabko Zindabad. Bye bye.
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Priyanka.
Priyanka.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Yes, bye. Thank you. And for all.